Thank you, Bruce. Good morning. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Church in Stuart, Florida. Today is May 16th, 2021. My name is Janet Groat, and I'll be your worship associate today. We're happy to have our Reverend Bob MacDonald in the pulpit today. And a big thanks for those who help with the service. Bruce Ruby, our fantastic music director, and our Zoom host extraordinaire, Corina Pelloni. We'll mute everyone to avoid noise in the background. We're a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, races, ages, and backgrounds. Thanks for being with us today. We're holding Zoom services every Sunday at 11 a.m. Go to our website, tucc.org, to be put on our email list so you can get live Zoom services. The big news, we're aiming for the safest possible way to start reopening on July 11th. It will be a hybrid in-person Zoom service, the safest possible way to start reopening. Say July 11th. Remember, coming up on the 23rd is our show and tell of sacred objects that you have in your home. So make sure you have something to show us. And the park group is meeting this coming Tuesday. We're all vaccinated people. Tuesday the 18th at Memorial Park in downtown Stuart for a brown bag lunch, high noon. Now Bob is going to light the chalice. We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing, humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time. We come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing that we can ever know, that love is now and forever, the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment. This is by Rod Richards. We who gather here in this tender and anxious and confusing time, we have been awash in a sea of information, misinformation, and disinformation. And this information that we seek is simply so that we may make wise decisions about how we respond and how we hold one another when we can't hold one another. What is in this face? How do we best respond? And why is this happening? The why, the why, the why. And why do those suffer who suffer the most, always suffer the most? Why? And how do we respond when we can't hold one another? And how do we stay together and stick together and worship together when we can't be together? Yet, here we are, here together. And I might add, together in real life again soon. Now, our music director is going to play and sing hymn number 361, and to rejoice and come in.
Enter, rejoice and come in. Enter, rejoice sing one. Open your hearts and be one. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in.
Now, let's do our affirmation. We're going to first speak it and sing muted, except for Bruce, for the second part. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now, Reverend Bob is going to do a story for all ages for us.
I love the Shel Silverstein story, The Giving Tree. I'm sure you know it, but I love reading it over and over again. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. The boy loved the tree very much. And the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older, and the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy." And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy. And she said, "Come, boy, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I'm too busy to climb trees," said the boy. I want a house to keep me warm, he said. I want a wife and I want children, so I need a house. Can you give me a house? I have no house, said the tree. The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house, then you will be happy. And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time. And when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. Come, boy, she whispered, come and play. I am too old and sad to play, said the boy. I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat? Cut down my trunk and make a boat, said the tree. Then you can sail away and be happy. So the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. I am sorry, boy, said the tree, but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples, said the boy. My branches are gone, said the tree. You cannot swing on them. I am too old to swing on branches, said the boy. My trunk is gone, said the tree. You cannot climb. I am too tired to climb, said the boy. I am sorry, sighed the tree. I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry. I don't need very much now, said the boy. Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired. Well, said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could. Well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down and rest. And the boy did. And the tree was happy. The end. Now, I love that story, but there's something missing. And that is the reciprocity of care and caregiving and care receiving, and what the tree has left after giving so much. So it's a happy story with a bit of sadness. We'll talk about things like that after a while.
Now it's time for joys and sorrows. Let's share our joys and sorrows. I'll move a stone in our symbolic river to mark each joy and sorrow. Raise your hand to share, and we will unmute you to speak. And mute yourself when you're done. Is there anyone who has a joy, a sorrow to share? And for all whose joys and sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you.
This is from the back of the hymnal by Ralph Waldo Emerson, entitled These Roses. And for a visual, you could fix on those roses strategically purchased after Mother's Day. But this is Emerson, These Roses. These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with God today. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts. In the full-blown flower, there is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less. Its nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all its moments alike. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we too live with nature in the present above time. Emerson. Moments of silence.
We're going to do our offertory now. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We're so grateful for this, and to commit together to ensure that the funds we gather collectively do good for ourselves and for the world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope.
The offering plate represents an awareness that so many have given to us and have given to this congregation. And so we bless the plate in the hope that our giving blesses many to come. And now I have another musical video that usually isn't associated with church or a church hymn, but it could be. Wow. The limits of caregiving. I need to digress before my topic. A word about how sermons come to mind. I don't think too far ahead. I learned early I was not good at chess because you had to think future moves. I think sermon topics a couple weeks in advance and hope that I can talk about them interestingly. So I will set a topic on front burner and one on back burner. So I have a topic for today that I've actually been thinking about my entire career. And the pandemic made it pretty pressing. But before I get to it, a couple things came up. Like our planned reopening on July 11th. Pretty big deal. And the day or two after our board decision, the CDC and President Biden, without consulting us at all, announced the masks and distance aren't as necessary as we thought. But they are what we have decided until we decide differently. We want to be as careful as possible. So the day after the CDC and Biden, I turn on the Today Show, and there are the Today women in giddy mode, holding hands, sitting closer, and commenting on each other's breath mints. So can we take a moment and say, yay, get up and dance for joy, our own giddy moment? We will be in worship again soon, July. The second matter I can't skip over is New York Times columnist David Brooks on Friday. His column entitled, "This is how wokeness ends." You know wokeness, WOKENESS, wokeness. I understand wokeness to mean coming aware, awakened, belatedly to some realities in life. Today, racism and its unending tentacles, becoming aware of the realities that a lot of folks have been living with. And according to the comic critics of wokeness, possibly catching a bit of smugness about your superior awareness. Not us, but some. Now, David Brooks is a pretty bright philosophical guy. And for some reason, I find his conclusion rather stinging. And so, now hear this. He concludes, the economist and cultural observer Tyler Cohen expects wokeness in this sense won't disappear. Writing for Bloomberg last week, he predicted it would become something more like the Unitarian Church, broadly admired, but commanding only a modicum of passion and commitment. This would be fine with me, Brooks again. As I say, there are at least two elements to wokeness. One focuses on concrete benefits for the disadvantaged, reparations, more diverse hiring, more equitable housing, and economic policies. The other instigates savage word wars among the highly advantaged. If we can have more of the former and less of the latter, we'll all be better off. Broadly admired, but commanding only a modicum of passion and commitment. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable, Bob. COVID made caretakers of us all. It also made care recipients of us all. For a long time, we watched and waited and hoped that we and people we care about were not becoming statistics in a massive, once a century death count. We are still in that time, but with a lot more hope than we felt a year ago. The lifting of restrictions seems too good to be true. I went to my local library branch a couple of days ago, and there was no temperature taking machine to squat down and look into, and no masked staffer at the door asking the questions. Have you been around someone? Have you had the symptoms? I stood there. Someone at the desk beckoned, just come in. So I asked, don't you care anymore? This year has reminded us of the importance of caring. When fear and helplessness brought us to our knees or to a fetal position, we had to face or to find that inner something we call by different names, but it's under the umbrella of spirituality. Your spirituality is like your life vest on a cruise ship. Lori and I were on a very unsettled waters once on the Black Sea in the middle of the night. And I told her, I'm getting up and on my knees to pray. She said, you do that. I'm getting the life jackets. We need a calming place within. And this past year made me find it and hold on. For me, it was repeating lines I had learned for such a time. Lines like, the Lord is my shepherd, be still and know, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. That valley followed us wherever we quarantined. We needed to cultivate something other than fear there. Caregiving has many advanced arts and degrees and specializations, but you sign on with 2 words, I do, because those words usually follow words like for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death. All relationships are about caregiving. Our pets are the perfect examples. If they don't know it, well, actually, cats really do know it. The great Albert Schweitzer, organist, missionary, doctor, theologian, said something like, all you need in life is music and cats. If we didn't know already, this past year has taught us a few things. Caregivers get burnt out. We've read that doctors and nurses are leaving their professions. The workload has simply been too great. And because of distancing, we haven't been able to get or to give the refreshment we were used to. The grands whose momentary hugs gave us something, even if we knew they were told they had to. We've been starved for hugs, period. Fist bumps and elbow taps just aren't the same. How long will it take us to be comfortable again with what came so naturally before? This past year has to me been a graduate level course in the need for caregivers to self-replenish. Whatever does that for you, prayer and meditation, spa, manicure, pedicure, walks in the woods, a long soak somewhere. The ways are as varied as we are, but the need is similar in all of us. Nobody can just be on the caregiving end. Even Shel Silverstein's giving tree becomes a stump with little left to give. That boy man starts out hugging that tree, but after that, it's all taking. I was on a couple of hospice teams, and one used a simple read called The Caregiver's Book, Caring for Another, Caring for Yourself by James Miller. It stressed the importance of self-care. It kind of surprised us with how often it stressed it. I want to read just a little bit. The healthiest way to care for another is to care for yourself. If you're like most caregivers, the needs of the person entrusted to your care are very important to you. If they're ill or in pain, if they're frightened or upset, you want to ease their discomfort, to soothe their feelings. If they're facing long-term limitations or life-suffering decline, you want to provide supportive assistance in the way they desire. You are in a position to make a real difference in their life. You can be mature enough to put their interests ahead of your own. You can be gracious enough to help them even when you're tired, to encourage them even when you feel low, to pamper them even when you'd like to be pampered yourself. But without being aware of what you're doing, and for the best of reasons, you can also endanger your caregiving. When caring for another becomes a significant part of how you spend your days, then caring for yourself becomes equally important. In order to give, you must have something within you to give. Churches have been about as helpful in the matter of self-care as they have been in the area of self-love, the importance of loving yourself well. I've always solicited ideas from my congregation, ideas they'd like to hear a sermon about. I did from you in this past Friday update. One leader in one of my early churches said the best sermon she ever heard and remembered from her youth was entitled, I Am Third. You know, God first, others second. I am third. I couldn't serve that up. How do you hold on when you are not sure there is a life vest? I remember conversations I had that were sustaining once and still are. At the end of high school, I got a job as a cashier in a hospital cafeteria. And when no one was coming down the line, I could sit with people who were too nice to tell me they just wanted to eat in silence. So go away, kid. One was an obstetrician who conveyed his joy in life, receiving new life every day. It didn't get old, though he seemed to me. The other was a young priest, and I remember asking him how long his spiritual highs lasted. He kindly responded, he was much more aware of how long his spiritual dry spells lasted. I remembered that because later reading the lives of spiritual giants, you get the picture of life in the desert, more than nonstop spa. Music is the fixer for many, recalling us to something in us that helped us to calm down and focus and still has that power. I love and am buoyed, lifted by the great Catholic music, Ave Maria and Panis Angelicus, Bread of Angels, without knowing, believing, even caring very much what the words say. Is the joke about Unitarians singing hymns true? Namely, that we aren't good at it because we have to race ahead and be sure the upcoming words don't betray our belief or unbelief. It looks to me like You like to sing hymns as well as any and are looking forward to getting back to it. I've heard Protestants say they love the hymn, Amazing Grace, but could you please take out the words, saved a wretch like me? In our UU hymnal, next to the word wretch, you notice an asterisk, and you see below, you are free to insert the word soul, just in case you feel better singing, saved a soul like me, rather than saved a wretch like me. I don't mind singing wretch because sometimes that's about how I feel, and I'm singing to feel better, and it has that power. In this past year, I got help by getting out my old LPs, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Mahalia Jackson, and closing my eyes and letting them lift me. That's what our very individualized, very different in all of us, spirituality has the power to do. What is it about human nature that we have to remember to let it? This year did make caregivers and care receivers of us all. If we can just remember to keep those parts of us in balance, the pandemic will have done some unintended good. Our closing hymn is number 77 in our hymnal, Seek Not Afar, Seek Not Afar for Beauty. I'll extinguish after these words attributed to Elizabeth Jones in the back of our hymnal. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The postlude this morning was composed by Paul Bolash, and it's entitled "Open the Eyes of My Heart."
Thank you, Bruce.